Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope my PTG family is doing great. Today's episode is brought to you by G2 Paintball Athletics. Become a better paintball player through their training programs designed to improve your agility, skills, and on-field strategy through their athletic programs. Today we sit down with Yosh Rau of San Diego Dynasty and also part owner of One Paintball products. They're making amazing paintball guns and barrels for the market space today. And we just kind of, sit down and have some fun with Yosh and talk about life in the Bay Area of California, talk about his history in the game, the future of paintball, and just having some fun. So we hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get straight to it.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game.
He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
Yoshi, my man. It's good to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. How's everything? What's up, brother? How's everything hanging over there in the Bay Area?
Things are strange, but I think overall, things are going okay. I mean, personally, I've been fortunate not to have any big health scares or anything like that within my family and close group of friends. So I'm thankful, and I've been able to, work here and there and be at the shop a good amount. So, I'm lucky.
Dude, absolutely. I know it's been madness. And who knows what's really going on? You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy times. That's all that I know is it's just really weird, like you said. And I'm glad to hear that everybody's good. I hope that Bailey and Mel are doing great. I love them so much. It's just so great to have you on, man. You're one of the best players, in my opinion, to ever play paintball, one of the smartest players to ever play, and also one of the most decorated. So it's truly an honor to have you on here and be able to tell your story.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm appreciative of you guys for, first of all, doing the podcast, providing stuff on the airwaves for people to, occupy their minds during these strange and stressful times. So it's a good thing you guys are doing. I'm happy to be here with you guys. I mean, I'm happy to be here with you guys because I love you.
Well, I was going to say, are we not going to talk about the 45 minutes we just spent trying to go live on this thing? Tyler just came right into it. But my goodness, we have been having some serious technical difficulties. Yosh is just now figuring out computers, so I think
this is my first computer. I got an email address yesterday. It's a Hotmail address. Someone told me that's not cool anymore, but I'm still rocking it.
It's working for you, man.
Yeah.
Yoshio32 at hotmail.com for anybody that wants to reach out.
That's right. Reach out. Hit me up. Ask me questions.
I'm glad we finally got it working. But dude, Yosh, I couldn't agree more, man. Tyler and I were talking about it. Well, multiple things. One, content right now is important for people. So we're stoked to be able to, bring this project to life and kind of keep people excited about the game and share stories. And that was really what inspired the entire thing to take place. And we've fallen in love with the process of it. We have so much fun. Tyler and I are talking all day, every day, pretty much. It's just been fun. It's been a lot of fun. But then bringing you on, we're like, dude, Yosh is, because you've never had a social media presence. You don't promote yourself. You're low key. You do your own thing, always been in your own lane. But truly, I think you have the most loyal fan base and the most you're the biggest sleeper in that regard. People love you.
For sure.
And
100%.
for rightfully so, because of everything you bring to the game. So
Well,
we're
thank
pumped
you.
to have you here, man. It's it's been awesome to see you from afar and then become one of your teammates and friends over the past couple years. And it's my 6th year on the team. Tyler, it's your 8th or 9th, maybe, I think, something like that. Yeah. And it's just been so cool to get to really know you on a personal level and be teammates with you. And so we had to have you on, man.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I mean, I feel like this is easy. I mean, it's just like talking with family.
Yeah.
So
don't sleep on Yosh's presence either. I see his YouTube with the field one. You guys are getting it cracking over there.
Well, we're trying to provide some content as well. Like you said, it's never really been my thing. I mean, I love seeing what my teammates and friends do. So I have a little bit of a creeper account, but I'm kind of a private person. I keep to myself. I appreciate what other people put out there, but
Absolutely.
I like the face-to-face more.
Absolutely. That's the most respectable way to, like what happened to the good old days? You know what I mean? What
They're
happened to
still
those?
around us,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still around us.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I won't let it die.
Thank God, dude. Thank you so much.
Holding on for dear life.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I see like in all my stories, Yosh Rau watches, but I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't have one picture posted on your Instagram. It's literally a creeper account.
No, dude, that's not what it's about. People don't want to see that, man. People don't want to
Dude,
see that.
like Marcelo said, you literally have probably the biggest underground fan base in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know about that, but if I do, I appreciate it.
for
You
sure.
do, dude.
I've met a lot of people throughout the years playing paintball,
Yeah.
and there's been a lot of good times shared with a ton of people around the world. So I appreciate the whole paintball community, and it's great.
Absolutely, man. It's not hard to believe, dude. You're one of the most likable people that I've ever met in my life, and you definitely know how to have fun, and you're damn good at paintball. So,
Dude, enough of that. Come
you
on.
get to have all the accolades. You know what I'm saying? But enough about boosting you. Let's talk a little.
Let's tear it down now.
Yeah. Let's tear it right on down, Yosh. Let's get to the grassroots of your story so that all of our listeners can kind of get the details on how you got into paintball. You've been playing for over 20 years and at the highest level imaginable, which is pretty unbelievable, man. And it's really pretty astounding. But how did you get into the game? What was your kind of story getting into it, and what got you addicted to wanting to play tournament paintball?
Like a lot of people, I went out for a little party.
Nice.
No, I mean, really, my first experience with paintball, I actually went to a paintball field and I wasn't even old enough to play. My brothers went up to Lake County to a place called Paintball Hill, which, closed down a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But for Northern California people, especially North Bay people, Paintball Hill was kind of the go-to place. I went there, got to check it out for a day, wasn't old enough to play. But I think the next year I got to go back and play alongside my brothers. And it was one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. So naturally I was hooked. It's hard to get that same feeling, that same, emotional tie into, fear and stress and anxiety. And after 20 minutes, it's all good. Everything's okay again, and then as you play more paintball, then you start to realize that you can have that power over people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's twisted. It's twisted, but it's been a blast ever since I started playing. And I think really the beginning of my paintball story is probably not that experience. Although I do remember, running around in our pasture with my brothers, and, only one of them had a paintball gun and the rest of us just had goggles, and, that was that. But I started playing really early on with Ryan Greenspan because we went to the same school together, and we lived, as the crow flies, we lived like a mile away from each other.
Whoa. And,
we went to the same preschool. So we've really known each other for a long time. But once we found out that we were both into paintball, I mean, things took off, and we were basically hanging out every single weekend, hanging out at school, gathering up groups of our friends to go play. Ryan had built.
Sorry about that, dude. I'm so sorry.
Nothing but love, nothing but love, of course. No, Ryan had a cool field in his backyard. It wasn't big. I mean, it was probably, I know you could throw a water balloon from one end to the other, because we would mix in water balloons and muddy tennis balls again when we didn't have paintballs, or when people showed up and didn't have guns. But it was some of the funnest paintball I've ever played. Yeah. And then we worked on building a field in my backyard, and we could get more players out there, more kids from school, started accumulating equipment and, getting CO2 fills. And I remember distinctly, this in my mind. Ryan's mom would go to the local paintball store, which was Pacific Paintball in Santa Rosa. And she would have a pillowcase full of like old CO2 cylinders that she would fill up for us. There's like rusty old 9-ounce and 7-ounce cylinders. Yeah. And she would get them filled with CO2, bring them back, and we would get to play until the CO2 was gone.
Dude.
We'd bring friends from school. Yeah, it was a blast. Like I said, we didn't all have guns in the beginning. So, we would have a trash can lid, you have a Ziploc bag full of water, whatever you could do, dirt clods.
Wow.
And, you just set up, it was paintball still, it's still a
Yeah.
game. You just had to adapt it so everyone could be involved. And then I think I was probably the first person to get a semi-auto. And that was a game changer. I've always been looking for that little extra edge.
Absolutely.
So that was the original Field 1.
Yeah.
That was Field 1. Yeah, Field 1 was Ryan's
field.
backyard on Hessel Avenue.
Dang,
That's
man.
sweet, dude.
Yeah, and
Wow.
then we started playing at Mare Island paintball games, which was for a lot of people that started playing paintball in the 90s in Northern California. That was the place to be. I mean, there were top level pro teams at the time that would go there and practice, and novice and amateur teams were coming up through the ranks. And a lot of the teams that practiced there and a lot of players that played there would actually go and compete on the national stage. So for Ryan and I, who were just a couple of, junior high and high school kids by the time we were there, it was like we were seeing guys that you would flip through the pages of action pursuit games and see like this guy in a War Games ad or this guy in like an Air America ad. And then you go to the paintball field and he'd be there. He'd be bullshitting with all of his teammates and friends, and you could go talk to him. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
But to add to that, just like everywhere else, it was such a strong community where, we started spending so much time there. We would go there every single weekend. I mean, like 51 weekends out of the year,
Dang.
I mean, literally like both days we would either be reffing or playing or just hanging out. And if it was, Thanksgiving weekend, we'd still go both days. And if we could go there on a Friday, we'd go too. If Christmas fell on a Sunday, we might open gifts on Sunday morning and then, head out to Mare Island to hang out with our paintball family too. I mean, it was just like, there was such a connection there, and we got to, meet the rest of our friends that were all going to be lifelong buddies, so it didn't start out that way, of course, but meeting up with, Alex and Oliver and Angel and Eric Crandall and Brad Mon and Billy Wing and Eric Roberts, all these guys that I've now known for, over 20 years. It's an incredible story for me to look back on. I think, I don't know how interesting it is, but just to like be a part of something like that, where anybody who played at Mare Island in the late 90s could think about those experiences and probably have something that we remember that we could share. And now that's such a long time ago. It's a truly special thing,
Absolutely, man. I mean, there's very, very few people that have a story like that and a heritage with the names of the players that you just named off there.
And that was the new guard, Bob Long's Ironman and Southern California Ironman would come up on occasion as well. And so, seeing Bob Long out there, seeing Rich Telford and Billy Payne and Ron Nelson and, Pollock and all these guys that were paintball famous back then, or were legends back then. I mean, Rich Telford and Billy Payne, two of the scariest motherfuckers I've ever seen at the paintball field.
I don't know who Billy Payne is.
Dude, just think about the name. But you would have Rich Telford and Billy Payne with their Shocker 4x4 turbos just cutting down the bushes around you. And I heard that, if you didn't go out, Rich would just beat you up.
Yeah.
Later I found out that was true.
That is true.
But luckily, I was on his team, so we were all good.
Shout out to Modesto. I love
shout
Rich
out to
Telford.
Modesto. Shout out to Rich.
It
was his birthday just the other day, just as it was yours. And it's just, those times and those people, they'll always be fond memories, and I'm just grateful that people are still in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We love these stories because this is, everyone has like kind of a similar, it's so special the way you started paintball, and especially the ones that are still in it. The stories are all so similar. You go out, you create a group, it's almost like a tribe of the people that you play with and stick with it, and you work your way up through whatever happens. We had Marky on, and it was like very, very similar story with him and his friends, how they started. There's just like such a deep connection to how we started the game. Like it holds a special place in our heart.
Absolutely.
And,
I'm surprised. Roots.
Yeah, it's your paintball roots, dude. And we love hearing about the paintball roots because, it's what kept us all hooked. It's the reason that we're still here doing it. You know, those are the times that captured us, you know, and if the game was in a different incarnation, maybe it wouldn't have captured us. You know, that's something that I always think back to. My first time playing was in the woods, you know, and it wasn't on airball. I wonder if it was on airball, if I would have stuck with it. You know, there was something about the progression of how I got into the game that made me stay and stick with it and fall in love and like evolve with the changing times. So it's really cool to get everyone's story on that.
That's a really interesting idea that you just had there, Marcelo, how and I did too. I started out in the woods. Actually, my first time was at an abandoned slaughterhouse in the middle of the Central Valley, and it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. You know, like there was still like, it was just in an old abandoned slaughterhouse that my uncle took me out to, and we brought out the big compressed air tank, and we would fill up off that thing, and he let me use some of his gear. But it was like Yosh said, I was terrified, and like it was foggy and just eerie. It was the whole deal. But it's the beautiful part about it. You know, we all have those. I love that, the paintball roots, man. That's what it's all about.
Well, I think, you know, what you said about if you had started on airball, you wonder if your experience would have been the same, and you wonder if you would have, you know, tried to progress through and gotten to where you are today. I mean, back when we started playing, there weren't two different games going on. You know, there wasn't the tournament side and the walk-on side going on. Everybody was integrated. And while they might have separated people off into, you know, self-equipped or advanced walk-on play, everyone was playing the same game. And that was, you crawl around in the bushes or the trees, you know, you get muddy. There's 50 different people to shoot at. Some of them might be pro guys. Some of them might be first timers, but it was just fun. And everybody was involved in the same game. Things are a little different now, you know, it's admittedly, it's tough to get an immediate connection if you go play paintball for your first time with, you know, some high divisional semi-pro or pro players that are out there, because, you know, that's the way things work now. Those are generally closed practices. And, you know, listening to your guys' stories just over the past week or two of being able to go out and play paintball again, it kind of brings you back to that, you know. People are now trying to get back into paintball. They're thrusting themselves in there in a way where it's like, I don't really care if I'm playing with my buddies. I just want to play. And so there's like at least a little bit of that reconnection between the first time player or the less experienced players and pro players. And that's a cool thing. I don't know that that'll last, but we can certainly enjoy it while it's here, you know?
Yeah, we got to make that last. I think that you just hit on something huge there, man. Like, it was fight or flight. Like, in the beginning, you were thrown into the lion's den pretty much, and you got good or you got run over. So you had a choice to make there.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, you know, you could crouch behind a piece of plywood with like eight of your buddies, and one guy could be shooting at you and you have no idea. And it could be, you know, you don't shoot anybody. Your buddies get picked off one by one. Eventually you get shot. You walk out. You didn't shoot anybody, but it was still like some of the funnest times you spent with your buddies, you know?
It's so intense, dude.
Yeah. Now our experience is different, you know, it's harder to draw enjoyment from those similar experiences, but you know, we gotta keep remembering that, you know, that's what it's about.
Yeah. That's the paintball roots right there. That's the way that it all began, you know? So just for everybody listening out there, go integrate yourself, you know, have a little fun, get out there.
That's right, man. I mean, it's just like everything else, you know, it's good for the paintball community if we integrate, if tournament players go play walk-ons. At the same time, you know, you gotta be kind to your neighbor. You gotta understand what you're doing out there. But there is something to be gained from, you know, the integration of tournament guys and scenario guys or walk-on guys, certainly.
Well, I think one thing that I always tell people if I'm teaching a clinic or I'm at whatever it is players should play in the woods, because communication is such a foundational piece in the woods. And it's not, you have to be so descriptive. You have to have real conversations. You have to actually communicate, not just say some codes or one or two things in order to get your point across. You know, it's like, Yosh, about 34 yards to the left, right, this angle, there's like a tree branch sticking down. There's a silver barrel sticking through. I think somebody's in that bunker.
That's right. Like, absolutely.
Like, I think, and I truly believe that builds much better communication skills for tournament play. And when we went and played the UWL, and I think it was 2000, started
those are the best.
2017.
Get
That
me
was
back out
amazing.
there.
That was so much fun. But just the conversations we were having on the field, I was like, dude, this is what it's about. This truly transcends into tournament play for sure.
Totally. I mean, I think you said it. You're off script, from the minute the game starts, you're off script because there's way too many variables out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's holes in stick piles that are yet to be discovered, whereas like you practice on a singular airball layout for 2 weekends, you play, 80 to 150 points on that layout. And then you get there and you are trying to be on script, it's just, it's a different thing.
Totally.
And there's definitely a ton of experience to be gained from being off script and still being able to put something together with your buddy or with your teammate, or trying to create something for yourself,
Dude, it's
Absolutely.
the best. Woods ball is so much fun.
So much fun, man.
Yeah, it is.
So
Absolutely.
So Yosh, how did you get into playing tournaments? I don't know if I even know that story.
Well, Ryan and I I think we were 16. I feel like Ryan was probably driving me to the paintball field. We
What a
might have
guy.
been getting a ride still. We had a couple older high school buddies that played with us too, and so they drove us around a little bit. That was back when gas was like 99 cents a gallon.
Damn.
There we go.
Yeah.
They
And
could have
if you
been on
couldn't afford
Dynasty.
gas, they could have been. Yeah. I mean, if you couldn't afford gas, you just took your horse. But yeah, so Mare Island Cup, that was our first tournament. I think it was officially coined as like a rookie tournament. There's rookie, novice, amateur B, amateur A, and then pro. That's how the breakdown was. I mean, essentially it was just the divisional stuff, but with different names. Back in the day, no one wanted to be called rookie, so that's probably why they got it. That's probably why they did away with that. It sounds nicer to tell your friends, I played a D5 tournament than rookie, but really there just needs to be an entry point for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So we played rookie.
Dude.
First tournament we played at Mare Island.
My first tournament was beginner. Rookie was the next. It was the next one.
There you
Rookie
go.
Wasn't even short. We had beginner.
Yeah, you were really underachieving.
At least I was the best of the underachievers. Shit.
There you go. We were the worst. I feel like I'm a pretty nice guy, but we got sportsmanship, and it wasn't because I was a nice guy. We got sportsmanship because we were horrible. So, sportsmanship prize on our first rookie tournament.
Dude, you guys got a trophy.
We did. Yeah, we walked away with a trophy. It was pretty awesome.
Damn.
They did another Mare Island Cup shortly after that. I mean, a few months after that. And Ryan and I and one of our buddies from high school were like, all right, fuck this. Let's load up. So we got like some more talent. We got basically, asked some of the more experienced guys at the field to play with us also. And we went into that tournament and we won. I mean, big swings.
Wow.
And we won our second rookie tournament. And from then on, I think we were like, all right, let's go pro. And
From rookie to
start
pro?
handling business.
Hold on. Who are these more experienced guys at the field? Is there anyone that we know today?
I mean, the most notable guys are Gary McNamara and Tim Seaton. They were guys that played on like Lofty and Cap Factory team way back in the day. I mean, late 90s. Yeah. And Gary McNamara was, I mean, he was just like a kind soul that helped people play paintball. I mean, he was there to support just as much as he was there to, play paintball and compete. He was there to make sure people were having a good time and that younger players were getting a crack at it. Yeah. And Tim Seaton was in a lot of ways the same way. I mean, he was like an old school heavy metal rocker, I think he wears a kilt now. I don't think he was wearing a kilt when he played paintball, but
rock star.
I mean, just a badass dude,
yeah.
But super awesome, kind guy. I've actually been able to, stay in touch with him a little bit over the years.
Nice.
And, those guys were a big influence on us because they were the first guys that were like willing to play with us and be like, yeah, sure, we'll play on your team.
Yeah.
And then we got our first tournament win and things took off from there. But I mean, we did play those tournaments against Alex Frazier and Oliver Lang. So
wow.
I guess you could say we were like,
oh wow,
yeah.
Is that how you guys met Alex and Oliver?
By beating them. Yeah.
Certainly at the field. I mean, we knew each other from playing against each other at the field before those tournaments happened, and they had their clique, and we had our little crew from our high school, you know.
Now,
and I mean, we worked at the paintball store, so we were pretty well equipped. But they were from Marin, which was, you know, they were the richer kids, so they were well equipped too.
Yeah.
So, you know, a little chip on our shoulder, like we would show up and have the high tech paintball gear because we worked at the paintball store.
Yeah.
And so we would get hooked up there. They would show up to the field and have, you know, they had like splash anodized spiders and mags and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, man, these kids got it
all
good,
in.
You know?
We need to
Let's
hear
get
more
them
about
on the team. Let's get them over here.
We need to hear more about this. We need to hear more about you and Ryan.
It wasn't friendly to start with. It really wasn't. Yeah. I mean,
we need more.
There was a rivalry, and the way Mare Island played out is there was your standard paintball field where you have like a plywood castle and a pile of hay bales, stick pile.
Yeah.
Big eucalyptus trees with wood piled around them. And then the other half of the field was the anise. And the anise was essentially just thick crawling bushes. And it was really up close and personal, you know. It was a unique experience playing there from playing at other places, because it was an art to be able to crawl through the anise. And sometimes it would be, you know, 20 or 30 minutes of crawling so that you could shoot one guy on the enemy line and break through and get in the back door.
Whoa.
And so there was a lot of, you know, up close and personal stuff happening in there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of teamwork, you know, a lot of kind of quiet communication, and a lot of trust. You know, you wanted to have a buddy next to you that was going to lay it down on the guy that got you.
Yeah.
Of course. Not much has changed. Still
right. And so, you know, Alex and Oliver and some of Alex and Oliver's friends, they kind of had their crew and we had our crew, and we would bash heads in there, and they would, you know, accuse us of shooting hot, and we would accuse them of cheating, and you know, just a bunch of kids having fun. I feel like we were probably having the most fun out of anybody there. And then we competed against each other in a couple tournaments. I remember I think it was the second rookie tournament we played in. There was some sort of falling out or drama between Oliver and Alex, and they ended up playing on different teams.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But you know, ultimately we developed an appreciation for them because they were out there every weekend, and you know, what was a big young rivalry turned into acceptance and
a dynasty.
Yeah. And then Eric Crandall actually was responsible for getting us all together and taking us to our first paintball tournament together as a team. And we played as like Lofty. There was a bunch of Lofty teams. That was the local thing. We were like Lofty 47 or something like that. And we played, I think maybe we played novice 10-man, and I don't think we won a game.
Yeah.
By the end of the tournament, some of the people that were with us had just gone home, and so we were playing 10-man with like 7 or 8 people.
Oh boy, man, that's crazy.
We were already the worst there, and then our numbers got dwindled down. I remember Keely and Ryan Watson from the family actually popped on to play with us because they're like, "Oh, you guys don't have enough players, bunch of young kids." Yeah, so they played with us, and that was fun. Dude. And you know, the rest is history. But Eric Crandall saw us all out there. You know, we all reffed and played at his field frequently. He was like, let's get this group of guys together. They're dedicated, they're committed to it. Let's go play some tournaments. And shortly after that, you know, we had a more consistent group of players, and we were out there having success.
Absolutely. Cran-Man has the eye, always has.
Yeah, Cran-Man, man. He put it all together.
Yeah, what a guy. Yeah. How many pro teams have you played for, Yosh?
I mean, I started playing pro with the Ironmen. I played with Joy Division for like, I can't remember if it was a year or two over in Europe. Wow. Great experience. Nice. And then it's been Dynasty ever since. You know, I mean, I've been on a mixture of other like mix-up teams, playing with like the Dynasty Arsenal, Dynasty Impact teams.
Yep.
Of
Expendables.
Expendables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rules. That's where the play the game mantra came from, actually.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Out
right.
there in Prague. Yeah.
Yep.
That was
Play
a
the
good one.
game.
That's it, man.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have a long list of pro teams.
That's
But,
admirable. Very
well,
admirable.
you know, I'm old as dirt, and so I do have a long list of players that I've played with.
Yeah. How
Who's your
long is
favorite?
that list?
It's a long ass list, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, especially because when we first started playing tournaments, it was 10-man. So in order to have enough guys, you know, some guy his car would break down or whatever, he can come. You'd have to
Yeah.
have 12 guys on your team.
Yeah.
And then there would be some turnover. And then we played the original NXL, which allowed for up to a 15-person roster. And, you know, for some reason we felt like we needed to have 15 guys on the team.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you'd have that. So, I mean, there's already a group of 25 guys
Jeez.
if there's no turnover at all. But obviously, and everyone knows in paintball on teams, there is turnover. And then Dynasty has been around. This is Dynasty's 20th year. And actually,
Beautiful.
yeah, Ryan and Alex have been working on a little project to collect all of the current and past Dynasty players' signatures so that we can, you know, put something together that will represent the longevity of the team and our commitment to the sport. And I mean, looking at that list, man, I mean, it's like,
wow.
I mean, to put it all on, I looked at it on my phone and I had to,
player.
yeah, I mean, I had to zoom and like look around for half an hour to navigate my way through the list. So, yeah, I mean, it's a huge list, and there are a ton of top pros on there. You know, obviously the guys that are currently on the team or have been a part of the team over the past, you know, couple of years that maybe have retired, but also, I mean, there's guys that, you know, cut their teeth in the Dynasty camp and came out for one reason or another, and maybe, you know, resurrected who they were as paintball players, or maybe, you know, just advanced to the next level. Totally. And I wouldn't give Dynasty the credit for that. I think that's just, you know, those players became who they were going to be. And now they're, you know, high level guys that are leaders on their teams. And I think that's just, you know, it just says how many different pro players came through the Dynasty squad. And it's a pretty cool list to look at.
It has a lot to do with the pedigree of the team, though, and
absolutely
what you guys have created, especially like the core four, and you guys just do instill that in people, and it's more than just how you play on the field. It's always been a culture thing with Dynasty, at least for me, from afar. Before I joined the team in 2015, the whole allure of always wanting to play for Dynasty was just the way you guys went about your business, the type of people who were outside of the paintball field. And so I think you guys teach people to, you know, you brought up the, you know, people may have moved on and become leaders of their team, so on and so forth. I think it's because you guys teach a lot of really valuable life lessons. I know I've learned a ton from playing with you guys. I can
absolutely say that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so that's why Dynasty holds a special place in my heart. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. I really do.
I mean, that's really cool. Just to even think that, you know, just the playing experience and the experience of being with the team has had a huge impact on other people. I mean, it's been my whole life, you know.
Yeah.
Paintball has touched every single important aspect of my life.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And so, you know, to hear that from other people, I know paintball has touched every single important aspect of other people's lives too. But to have Dynasty intertwined with that is very cool. And again, I think that speaks to the community that we have. I mean, there's just so many different, you can look at each individual team as a tribe. You can also look at, you know, the pro division as a tribe, and then you can look at tournament paintball as a tribe, and you can look at paintball in general as a tribe.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen so many examples of you know, people having other people's backs when they don't even know each other, but because there's a connection through paintball, it's like, all right, let me see how I can help out, you know. And it's just such a cool thing to be a part of. And then on the micro level with Dynasty, you know, I still look at like any of the guys that have ever played on the team as part of the Dynasty family, even if they're on rival teams now, and I still do whatever I could to help them out. You know,
if there was one player that used to play for Dynasty and no longer does it, you could have back on the team, anyone from any era, they could come back, be in their prime, who would it be?
I mean, just because I have such a deep rooted connection to him, I mean, I would have Oliver come back, you know. I mean,
We should
Sorry.
say besides. We should
Sorry,
say besides.
that's a
we
really
should-
fucking easy
Yeah,
answer.
we should say
right.
besides. We should say besides Oliver, actually,
I
because
mean-
that's the obvious.
Yeah, I mean, to go along with that, of course, you know,
I feel like he's
I
still
mean,
on the team, though. I feel like he's
you
still.
know, he's
here,
certainly
you know?
he's certainly still with
Yeah,
us and
he's
around us.
with us. He's around. He's in the air. Yeah,
Certainly.
absolutely.
But you know, for all of the, you know, things that eventually made him feel like he was, you know, ready to close that chapter of his life and move on.
Mhm.
We had, I mean, life-changing experiences together. So
Absolutely.
you know, I would love to see him come back. And you know
Yeah.
what? I don't really give a shit about having him in his prime. I love for him to
Yeah,
come back
yeah.
right now.
That-
You know, it's all good. He's the type of
Absolutely.
guy that's still going to be good, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
certain guys, you know, like when Ryan is done playing paintball, whenever that's going to happen,
He'll still be
he's still
kicking
going to be
ass.
he's still going to be able to come back in 10 years and still be a dominator, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I see you guys being the exact same way. You guys could put your gun down, walk away for 10 years and come back and, you know,
Yeah.
come right back in. No problem.
Ryan,
But,
Ryan is one of the best players to have on Sunday. And it's, you know, there's been quite a few tournaments, especially last year playing in Europe with them, with the Golden State Kings. He would have a few shaky prelims, to be honest. But then on Sunday, it was like, oh, whoa, the best I've ever seen him play. You know, and he just shows up when it's time to win, and he has the experience and pedigree. And same thing with, that's why all of you guys, again, the core four, you guys have just done it so much. You've won. Actually, Ty and I were talking about this beforehand. We don't know exactly how many tournaments
That's
you've
right.
won.
Yeah.
We're gonna ask about this because it's an insane amount. Like,
Yeah. How many have
can't
you won?
we can't even really compare, like, at all. It's unbelievable how much you guys have won.
At the
How many-
pro level?
How many pro tournaments have you won, Yosh?
well, I mean, first
Give
of
or
all,
take.
first of all, it's been a little while, which sucks. So
Yeah,
we
I know.
gotta collectively come together and fix that. But
That's number one right
Um,
there. Yeah.
I don't know. I've actually kind of lost track. I know that a number of years ago, there was a Huntington Beach event. It was like, you know, back when the Huntington Beach events were still the prime time events.
Yeah.
And that was our 50th pro win. But I mean, shit, now looking back, that was probably 10 years ago. I mean,
Yeah, there's
So-
been tournaments won
Wow.
since.
yeah, a good amount, you know?
Amazing.
So I mean, I think we're probably somewhere in the 60s, you
Yeah.
know?
That's amazing.
And I will say, I mean, tournaments
But-
have always been hard to win, you know, and tournaments
Absolutely.
continue to be hard to win. Winning pro events is not easy. I mean, you see sometimes a team makes it look easy, but I guarantee you in their
No.
pit, it is not fucking easy.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, I look at that number and I think a lot of guys contributed a shit ton to that,
Mm.
you know, to build up that amount of wins. And
Yeah.
it's been awesome to be a part of that.
Damn.
But
That's amazing.
so Yosh, that's with Dynasty. You played with Ironman for how many seasons before Dynasty?
3 seasons. So a season of 10-man and then 2 seasons of the original NXL format.
And how did you guys do in those years? Did you win any events then?
We won a
Yeah,
10-man event. My first pro win actually was a 10-man Chicago event with the Ironman. But then once that changed over to the original NXL format, there were no longer tournament winners.
Right.
It was
Right.
basically league play
Mhm.
until the
Right.
final event. And I will say, I mean, you know, I loved the guys on the team and we had some good players and we had a couple good showings, but those years of the Ironman, we weren't top of the game, and there were more
Okay.
dominant teams.
And-
So
What years was that? Was Dynasty winning
was
tournaments at that time?
yeah, and so Dynasty won their first pro tournament, their first year, 10-man as well.
2001.
Yep,
Mhm.
and World Cup.
Well, I do want to talk about this because I've seen like little clips and old videos. What happened? Because wasn't it a very controversial finals and like Dynasty didn't win, but then there was a call reversal and they got the win. Do you
So
recall any of that?
I mean, it was mostly. So I was watching, right? I
Okay.
wasn't playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was controversial, but in the same way that, you know, one ref call can be
Sure.
controversial
Sure.
in a modern X-ball point, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But back then, you would play one game to determine who was going to win.
Damn.
There wasn't an area to allow for, a mistake. Some guy's gun not working, or a ref blowing a call, or somebody, finding some gray area in the rules to exploit where they could go back and look at it and be like, all right, we're not going to allow that for the rest of the match, or something like that. It was like truly do or die. And it was one game, and it was 10 man, and there was a lot going on. And there was, it was Dynasty versus Aftershock, and it was an extremely close game. There was a lot of trading bodies. I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that happened that people don't even talk about in the spectrum of how close the game was. Just because back then, finals, 10-man pro, those guys were doing whatever they could to win.
Absolutely.
That's how it was going. And if someone wasn't watching, they were doing whatever they could to win.
Okay.
And
okay.
And that's the way it was, and I think in some respects, that's still the way it is. It's just that there's more people watching now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the pro players of today play with honor. Okay. Yeah. But there's also a lot of people that don't. There's also a certain level of I'm going to get away with what I can get away with to try to advance my way through the tournament. And that's just, unfortunately, or sports. Fortunately, however you want to look at it. Right. That's sports. That's competition.
Yeah.
And it is, as a player, it's not my job to go out there and ref. It's my job to go out there and play as hard as I can. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people see it that way, and their interpretation of as hard as they can might differ from player to player. But going back to that 10-man game, it was low body situation, low on time, and ultimately, there was from what I remember, there was a trade out, but a ref made a call essentially that it wasn't a trade out. This guy was still alive and run the flag back and made it in time, and low body situation, and it was just enough to set them over the top in points. Well, I look at it. I at the time, a bunch of my friends were competing against Aftershock. At the time, I didn't really know the Aftershock guys. I had a great deal of respect for them. Yeah. But at the time, I think I looked at that as that was a legitimate win. That was the type of game you could expect as the last game of World Cup.
For sure.
If those were all your friends, why were you on the Ironman and not with Dynasty at that time?
Well,
he was
not really, the way that we went pro it wasn't clear to me what was going to happen when we all went from amateur to pro. And so, at the time we were playing as Cap Factory team, we were amateur, we were pretty dominant. And we also had a little side project called the Iron Kids. Yeah. And on that team, we had a number of pro guys, our friends, Davey Williamson, Todd Martinez. And at the time, Oliver was also pro that year. He turned pro when he was 17. So he was the first one from our group to go pro, played with the Ironmen, had a huge amount of success, started revolutionizing the game immediately when he hit the pro scene. And to us, I think it looked like an opportunity for all of us. Okay, shit. Oliver's good, but he ain't that good. We can all go. We can all go in there and have a similar splash, and rightfully so. We were all competitive with each other. We played with each other for years. Yeah. And so at the end of whatever season that was, the 2000 season, Ryan and I moved to San Diego to go to school at San Diego State. And, we had a conversation. We didn't really know what was going to happen, but there were a number of pro teams at the time that were asking our guys, hey, you want to come play? We saw what Oliver did for the Ironman. Yeah. Why don't you guys come over and play with us? And the Ironmen were part of that. Yeah. And so, I'm not sure who got invited by who or whatever, but we didn't have anything on our plate in terms of, taking our whole squad pro. That for some reason, wasn't in my mind. I didn't think that was going to happen. Yeah. Gotcha. And so I got invited by, a few guys from the Ironman to turn pro.
Beautiful.
And for an 18-year-old kid who didn't see that opportunity elsewhere, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Turn pro. I've already got buddies on the team.
Yeah.
The guys that are inviting me onto the team are like the new young guard of the Ironman. So I felt like that was, a great place to land and start my pro paintball career. And I also felt like all of the guys on Cap Factory team, I mean, BC and Skinny Kevin and Angel and Alex and Johnny, or Johnny wasn't on there yet. Ryan, I figured like all these guys were going to basically kind of go the same way. We were all going to find a pro team, and that's how we were all going to start. And it was going to be a dream come true for all of us.
Yeah.
What happened shortly after that was that, I don't know how hostile the takeover was, but there was essentially a team takeover of Cap Factory team where, Chuck Hench was like a big wig at JT and heavily embedded there and had, created an awesome sponsorship package that he could bestow upon a team at his, whatever team he chose. And he looked at this group of young players who were dominating everything at the, amateur A level and was like, sweet, I want to take these guys pro. And that's basically what happened. So the team transitioned from being Chris Hagen's Cap Factory team, rest in peace, Chris.
Yeah.
To, Chuck Hench's Dynasty team. And all of the guys that turned into Dynasty, they grabbed a few more veteran guys, a few new guys, and they started off on that road together. And by then, I was already in a different camp.
I see. Gotcha.
And so, I mean, I lived with the guys. I was still best friends with them. And I mean, maybe there were some hard feelings, but I think it was, I don't know. I can't speak for people,
Yeah, of course.
I think it was understood because at the time it was like we were all
chasing the same dream.
Yeah, we were championing at the bit to go pro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I went to a place where I was going to get to play with Oliver and Davey and Maddie and guys that we all knew and that we all looked up to. And I mean that's how it happened. And then
Beautiful.
And then the Ironmen were they were basically in the throes of kind of this revolution too, where they were going from the old guard of the Ironmen, the guys that had played what's now called classic paintball.
Yeah.
And, the young guard of guys. And so to be thrust into that, but to kind of be put in on the side of what I saw as like the more powerful side of it, because it was the group of up and comers. I mean, less experienced, but more effective players. It was a good place for me to go, really. I mean, sure, would I have loved to, start Dynasty with all of my friends?
Of course.
That would have been an awesome experience too.
Yeah.
But the way that my paintball career started and went, I mean, I can't be sorry about being on a team with all of the guys that I was on with the Ironman. I'm with, I'm still great friends with a number of those guys. And also I learned a lot, I think in a lot of ways being separated off from my group of friends that you could easily have just been like really comfortable and sat back and just kind of blended in, and being thrust into a new environment where I had to prove myself was a way for me to push myself forward as well and learn other skills. I mean, I won't say that I would be the same person or player that I am now and that I was throughout my career without, having those years of learning the game through some of the Ironman guys and under the leadership of Rich Telford, I would never take those years away, as much as it would have been cool to be a part of Dynasty when it began. I wouldn't give that up. I mean,
that's such a great bit of knowledge for the listeners to walk away with is, just get in there, take the roads you don't know where they lead and follow your heart. You had the passion, you had the love for the game, you knew it was the right fit and you did it. And
that's it, man. That's it. Get in there. That's a big thing. I mean, opportunities to play pro paintball are not easy to come by. There's a few teams this year that basically took their squad from playing divisional or semi-pro ball and took it pro. And, you know, they're going to have a mixed level of success.
For sure.
That's just the way it goes. And there's going to be a hard road, you know?
Yeah.
But that's part of it.
That's fun.
And then,
that's the best stuff.
And then there's hundreds of other players who are also hungry for that opportunity, but won't get that opportunity to go pro with their squad. And so they need to work at, you know, getting exposed to other pro teams and other squads and, like, you know, taking that leap of faith that if that's what you want to do.
For sure.
And, you know, spend the extra time traveling if you have to, you know, take the extra long car ride to go down to a semi-pro or pro team practice to give yourself that opportunity. Yeah. I mean, whatever way you can, you know, if it's, if playing pro paintball is what you want to do, dude, get after it, you know?
Totally. Me and Yosh would always say, embrace the schlep. It's like, you know, embrace the long road, embrace the thicket.
Right.
You know, the tough times are what molds you and builds you. And that's where you want to be at right there.
That's right. I mean, I think to be honest, everyone has had the schlep, you know, different parts of your life, embrace it and just move through it. You know, don't get bogged down in it.
That's it, dude.
Don't get bogged down in the schlep.
That's right. That's right, man.
Where did the Dynasty chant come from? Where did the DYNASTY chant
So again, I probably shouldn't even speak to that because, you know, like as far as Dynasty is concerned, that was developed. Yeah, that was developed in the first 2 years that the team was around that I wasn't on there, you know?
And so Oliver, so you and Oliver won the Ironman, and did you guys go back to Dynasty the same year? Did you guys go together?
No, we didn't. So Oliver went back a year after I went to the Ironman. Oliver went back to Dynasty. So he was just trying to get away from me. I mean, there's no other real way to explain it. You know, he finally gets one of his hometown buddies to be on his team, and off he goes again.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So yeah, we go way back. You know,
maybe he just missed Alex. You know,
no, he did. I mean, you know, I think he was immediately missing the boys in blue, and again, we were all living together. We were all best friends, and I think he had probably felt like, at least for the first time, he felt like he could close that chapter, go play with all of his buddies.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't blame him.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you know, why didn't I go back then? You know, I mean, it's a good question, but I think it's just, you know, it's part of my mentality to kind of like see something through. You know?
Absolutely. I love that about you.
I wasn't just gonna go back because it was a convenient time because Oliver was going back, you know, like I had a certain level of loyalty to the guys on the Ironman that had taken me under their wing, given me a lot of opportunities and believed in me.
Yeah.
And it was a turbulent time for the Ironman too. And so I kind of felt a responsibility to stick it out and continue to learn from them. And, you know, that's how it went.
Totally. That's the right thing, man. So I think, you know, all our listeners would obviously love to dive into the whole Field One aspect. You guys have started a gun company, which is pretty damn amazing. Sorry, Marcy, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, no, that's the gun company for sure. We got to get into that because that's the cream of the crop. But when you finally did go back to Dynasty in 2003, 4, which year was it? You guys went on a huge run.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think Dynasty was already running pretty good, you know, but again, the leagues were separated. I think people will still look back on some of those years and say, you know, oh, some of the tournaments that Dynasty won during those years, they weren't playing against all the pro teams. And
when they were playing D1 in PSP,
yeah. And there's some truth to that. You know, there were teams that were excluded from playing in the NXL division.
Right.
And for whatever reason, right? Whether it was political sponsorship or, you know, a choice from the inception of the NXL to only have this amount of teams, and teams that weren't going to be in there had to find their own way. And the NPPL was strong, you know, the NPPL 7-man was strong. And so there was teams that primarily competed in the NPPL 7-man and teams that primarily competed in the NXL pro version of the game. And, you know, to be honest, there was the larger part of the mass of talent in the pro division played in the NXL, but there were still all these teams that were good that competed in the NPPL. And then when they figured out, oh, we can go play the PSP too, to get an extra 5 tournaments in per year, all of those teams went and competed at that level. And so there was teams like the Naughty Dogs and Strange that competed at that level.
I feel like Russian Legion also came over and played D1 in like 2005. That year. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was I think there might have been 2 years of the Russians playing in that format and that division before everything got mixed up again.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting thing, because playing on the Ironman and not being allowed to go play the NPPL 7-mans. Yeah. I mean, that sucks. Yeah. It really sucked, you know? And for
7-man was huge.
Dude, and the spectacle of Huntington Beach being played on the sand and not being able to go play was like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, like I thought this was all pro paintball. Everyone should be competing against each other, and everyone should be trying to, you know, promote the highest level of competition in their league. But there was some political division. For sure. Certain teams weren't allowed to play over here. Certain players weren't allowed to play over there. And so there was, that period sucked. And it's a little murky, you know, with what teams were competing in what league. But the reality is, I mean, there were 2 pro leagues at the time. Yeah. And to say that one was legitimate and one wasn't that's a mistake, because there was a lot of talent, you know?
Yeah. I feel like there was a couple years, and Tyler, you were like 2004, you were playing NXL
with Oakland.
Yeah. You were in the bad boy league, I guess you want to call it. But to be honest, dude, sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
It was just like glorified practice. You would go to play these tournaments, but you wouldn't have a real event type until the end of the year. It was
right.
And I do feel like I remember, at least my perspective, and it's only my view on paintball at that time, was 7-man was huge, Dynasty was huge. Yeah. And then you guys would come over and play, not in the NXL, not in the series format that they had going on, but you guys were winning the divisional tournaments. But everyone was like, dude, the Naughty Dogs at the time were one of the best teams in the world, hands down. Russian, Strange, like the teams that you guys are playing against, I do remember back in the day.
Caliber.
The argument was like, they might as well be winning in the Pro NXL too. For sure. You know, that's the memory that I have, at least. It could be wrong.
Too. I do
but it's totally the memory that I had, was like, it wasn't called pro, but everyone was like, these are the best teams. If they played in the NXL, they'd be beating all of those teams, you know? And like, that was the way everyone
You guys were the smart ones, because you were making money over there.
Yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing. Now, I can't say that I was one of the smart ones, because at the time I was stuck in the NXL playing glorified practices. But yeah, I mean, shortly after that, I was like, sweet, we get to actually go and compete in 10 tournaments a year. And the prize packages were decent then, and you could win. I mean, with Dynasty, sometimes we would win, 5 to 8 out of the 10 tournaments a year. Oh, yeah. And like take home a decent prize package off of each one. So, that was sweet. And then to see other guys that were maybe stuck playing only one league, I was like, dude, I'm sorry. That sucks for you. Yeah.
And especially, like you said, missing Huntington Beaches. I mean, I don't know, like Dynasty Excessive was the rivalry, but Dynasty definitely had the most success out of any other team ever in NPPL. I mean, it was like an insane run you guys went on. I remember with the Ironman in 2008, we were the first team that was going to dethrone you guys of the series championship. We literally only had to win 1 game in the 8 matches we had in the prelims, or maybe we had to win 2 in the prelims to lock up the series title, and we completely dropped the ball. And you guys went on to win the tournament.
Yeah,
it was a perfect storm. You guys had to win, we had to complete, and you guys held your throne. But nobody had.
I feel like Commander Mo came down and smited you guys.
Who's Commander Mo?
Oh,
Commander Mo. I mean, it was a Commander Cup. It was Commander's Cup. Commander Mo is, the Commander's Cup was thrown in honor of him, and he was a huge Blue Dragon fan. What can I say?
He apparently, but great. You guys had, I can't imagine that feeling to have that success in those years, because they really were like almost the pinnacle. We talk about the golden years of paintball a lot, and I always go back to like 07, 08 World Cup, and maybe I'm a little biased because we were in the finals in those years, but at the same time, paintball just seemed huge then. But that was equivalent to the NPPL days in those years that were Huntington Beaches. Those events, Tampa, you go back to like an infamous Chris Lasoya time in Tampa. Those moments are iconic in paintball, and Huntington is so that with Dynasty. Like, I mean, dude, what was that like? You guys were at the top.
Well,
You guys had huge sponsorships. There was
yeah,
outside
I mean,
dollars in. Like,
I think that was more of what defined it as the pinnacle of of professional paintball, more so than the talent level. You know, like
Yeah.
the evolution of the sport, the talent level has continued to rise.
Mm-hmm.
But what was going on then was there were a lot more sponsorship dollars in. The prize packages were bigger, so there was like the glorification of winning was there, and it was when paintball media was at an all-time high in terms of the spread. You know,
For
like
sure.
you could actually go into a 7-Eleven and there might be like 3 different paintball magazines on the magazine shelf in 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're getting really good coverage of the current tournaments, but to just have like
A physical.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
and the ability to like create paintball stars. You know, there was more stories were being told then because there was more print.
Yeah.
There was
That's
like
true.
paintball journalism happening,
Mhm.
and I think stardom was being created. There was money flowing to the pro teams. There were bigger prize packages, you know, and because of that, the spectacle was bigger. And I mean, it was a roller coaster that just kept on charging. I mean, it was I mean, there was thrills along the way, but it kept on going. And I won't say that it ever crashed down, but my perspective on the way pro paintball is now compared to how it was then has changed. I mean, I actually think that there's probably more guys getting paid a decent amount of money to play now. Prize packages are certainly smaller, and opportunities to compete in pro are much more limited.
That's
I
true.
think the overall talent level has risen, but you know, it's just there's like only at this time there's really only the one platform for like paintball superstardom, you know, and that's a change.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really magazine covers. I mean, I know there's a couple magazines that exist out there, but they're just not really mainstream for paintball. Not everybody gets to see them. They're not widely distributed. People aren't getting subscriptions to these things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you're tuning into the NXL Pro event webcast, you know, you're really not seeing these players.
That's true.
Yeah. And so a lot of things have changed. It's still fun. I mean, I would argue that the paintball of today for me is still just as fun, if not more fun.
Of course.
And that's what's kept me going in it. But yeah, man, it's changed, you know?
For sure. Well, what's your outlook on the future of paintball? I mean, where do you see paintball in 5 years on its current path?
Well, the current situation has certainly thrown a wrench in the gears. I mean, there's no doubt about it that small business and an industry as a whole having to basically take a break for 2 or 3 months. And that's only just what we've experienced so far. I mean, there's obviously a road ahead, and I hope things can get back to some level of normalcy and things can pick up again. But who knows, right? I mean, we just have to, again, embrace the schlep, try to support each other, be kind to your neighbors, do what you can to help us get through this. Right?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
But aside from that, I mean, it's a game, man. It's I just can't say.
I love that.
And I say this with as much respect as I can give to the current players. Yeah. It's a game. I can't say that it's a sport. There's certainly athleticism involved, but we got to look at it as like something that the most important thing is that we keep this fun. Yeah. You know, I like the dream. I like the idea of people pursuing the dream. I like the idea of people pursuing the idea of paintball glory, maybe even pursuing the idea of getting paid to play. But the reality is we got to keep this fun. And that, you know, that is from the bottom and the top when you're talking about your experience level.
Why don't you think it's a sport, Yosh? What
I think
classifies as a sport for you?
Because I think only a small part of it, which is the part we play, is a sport. I think when you look at it as a whole, the thing that people go to and play for the first time is not a sport. That's a game. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I think that what we engage in.
Gotcha.
Of course.
I think that what we engage in is the best version of a sport that we can play. And I mean, there's other things going on, the one-on-one stuff that can be considered sport.
Totally.
we
Okay.
play in. The
Cool.
format we play is sport, but the
Yeah.
roots of what we have and what we
Yeah.
love
It's a
is
game.
a game.
Yeah, I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, I do
It's
too. I do
it's
too.
as simple as that, man.
Cool.
Like I said, I don't want to
Play
disrespect
the
guys
game, baby.
that are approaching this with a sports like mentality. That's
Yeah.
good. That's how
Yeah.
you are going to push yourself further and further along.
Totally.
But the important part of what we do, the important part of paintball is the game itself.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man.
That
Yeah.
shouldn't offend them at all. I'm glad I asked to kind of clarify that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. It
Yeah.
is a game, and there's so many aspects to paintball, which is actually why, when we have these new leagues sprouting up, whether it's one-on-one, HK has a 7-man thing, the Ultimate Shootout that Go Sports is doing, Brandon Short's one-on-one league, and the Paintball Classic, Tim Montresser's ICC. I love it. There's so many forms of paintball that should be played and
Dude, it's healthy.
and it is.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good for all of us. I mean, the more
Yeah.
ways you can get people in to enjoy the game of paintball, the better. And
Totally.
whether that is taking a really direct, competitive, sports-like approach to it, that's there. Whether
Totally.
it's playing, more of a recreational style competition in the woods with your friends, that's there. Whether it's
Yeah.
playing one-on-one and truly testing your technical ability and instincts against another top guy, that's there. That's one of the great things about paintball. I mean,
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
all different ways that you can play it. And some people like to just go to the field and hang out in the parking lot.
Totally.
And that's fucking cool too.
Yeah.
That's cool. Everybody gets what they want out of it. I mean,
I'm going to say this one more time. I've said it on the show before, but I think we need to have a tournament series that combines all of them together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the Valken Cup that we played that one time. Remember
hey
that?
man, the Valken Cup was highly enjoyable.
That
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
amazing. I
Yeah,
suck
it was
at
fun.
pump. That's what I know.
I'm the worst. I'm pretty sure I got sat for that part of the tournament.
I would try to get someone and the damn ball would roll out of the front of the barrel and I'd be like, oh God, he'd shoot me. And I was like, oh, here we go, man.
Dude, there's a lot of different ways to play the game, right?
That's right.
And they all have their way to have fun with them. And I think
Totally.
you're right.
Yeah.
To really determine who is the best at paintball.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Maybe people have to play in more formats, and maybe there should be some
right.
sort of unified competition that incorporates
That would be
all those
so
different
cool to
styles
see.
and formats.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. I would
Interesting
love to.
idea. Interesting idea. I'm more and more for it. The older I get and the more that we're learning about
Yeah.
what people are actually interested in paintball. It's a small group that follow tournament paintball, but a lot of people follow scenario paintball. A lot of people play
Yeah.
scenario paintball
Mhm.
and that game as a whole. And so, yeah, I think
Absolutely.
there's a lot of interesting
there's a
ways to
different
attack it.
mentality there. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Mhm.
get in a lot of ways. Tournament paintball helps to support the paintball industry and really pushes the limits for the gear and
Yeah.
performance out of the gear. And I love that aspect of it. It also shows what people who are truly dedicated to the craft of paintball can achieve in like how truly skilled they can become.
Mm.
But there's a totally different thing with scenario paintball where the mentality is different. And the mentality there is like more about having a blast and getting together. And that might be for a lot of people, they're like one weekend trip that they get to do
Yeah.
a year. And they've chosen to use their vacation on that paintball weekend
Yeah.
where people are popping smoke.
Grenade.
Yeah.
You can call in the medic whenever you want to, and you can shoot your gun fast as you
Yeah.
want to.
Oh, yeah.
And,
That's
and it's
amazing.
just, yeah, man, we got to embrace it all.
Totally. I'll
Gotta-
never forget, like, my first scenario game was like this 24-hour night game. And it was with like my uncle in the thicket of Waterford, like this Central Valley town out there. And it was the best time I ever had in my whole life. Are you kidding me? You just get to play nonstop. You know what I mean? It's
I wish we
nothing
could
better.
call in a medic on the pro field.
Yeah.
Me too.
Hey, medic.
Medic!
I think
We should
I
get
think
one
some-
resuscitation allowed.
I like that.
I think
Yeah.
some players are
And a
playing by those
sidearm.
rules already.
Well, some people have the ability to self-heal, I think.
Yeah. Damn.
That's
Can't
funny.
knock
All right.
that.
All right, yes. Back to like I love what Tyler was going to get into because
Yeah.
Field 1 obviously is breaking news in the game. You guys
Totally, man.
had so much success as a team and best friends growing up. It created this insane foundation, and you guys go and have tons of success competing, and now are having tons of success on the business side of things. Like, how did that come about? How did you guys decide to pursue a path in a business and that side of paintball?
Well, I mean, there's been, you know, there were a lot of years where we were just players, but we were certainly brand ambassadors. I mean, I feel like in paintball, we started kind of defining what that was, you know, and so the ability to represent a brand and seeing the power behind that, and also seeing the power of the input that we could provide into that brand, into the products that that company was making.
That's right.
And, you know, help in what ways we could in developing products that would serve our needs better. That was enjoyable. It was something that was cool to look back on and say, okay, we had a part in that. This shocker grip frame is the way it is because of suggestions we made. You know, the way that this trigger guard and trigger feel is the way it is because of what we asked for. I'm a gearhead, man. I love gear. I love backpacking. I love paintball. I like firearms. I like archery. All of those have something in common too, and that is that there is gear and there is technology in there that if you look close enough, you can see little differences and see little advantages that stuff gives you. And so for me, the idea of starting our own paintball gun company and being able to study and incorporate those things in was like a dream come true. And to be able to do that with a group of friends, brothers that I trust with everything, and that we've always been able to have a common goal and achieve things together. I mean, that again is a dream come true. I mean, the idea of actually doing a paintball gun company versus, you know, some other type of paintball gear company, I think that was actually Eric Crandall's idea. I think he saw that of all the pieces of equipment out there, the thing that we had the most experience with in the actual, you know, use of it and how it performs in different conditions and how it feels in your hands and little things that you could change. I think he had a vision that a high-end paintball gun was like something that we could truly contribute our experience in paintball to developing, you know? So,
and you guys have, our guns are so awesome.
They're the most badass guns in the world.
Dude, thanks guys.
Yeah,
thanks.
Dude.
We love our guns.
No lie.
All
right. This thing shoots so
I've got my
good.
signature series Force right over here, and I mean, I'm obsessed.
I love that. Well, thank you guys. I mean, I will say, I feel like I'm pretty critical of myself, and I think that's been part of me developing as a paintball player. And, you know, just kind of my mentality as a person, you know, I always look inward for things that you can improve upon. And I want to continue that with the development of our technology and our products at Field One. But I will say with some confidence that I'm extremely happy with the way that the Force performs, the way it feels. And, you know, I love going to work because I get to work in paintball now. There were a number of years where I did not work in paintball. I worked in archery, and I loved that experience, and it really taught me a lot, and I got to work with close friends. But being able to work in paintball now, I get to be a part of paintball and be in the industry, have paintball in my mind, hold paintball guns all the time. It's been
That's awesome.
It's for me, it's been something of a rebirth for me in my playing career too, because now I get to feel like even if I'm not looking at a field map, I'm still in paintball. You know, I'm talking to paintball people every day. Like I said, I'm building guns, trying to solve problems within paintball. I get to be connected in, I mean, as much, if not more, than I want to be, you know?
And I'm always here to test your guns and break them and smash them into the ground.
Absolutely, man.
That's what I'm here
without those hands, how would we know if our stuff was really going to hold up, you know?
Exactly.
His hands and my complaining. I think.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, it took a long time to develop the Force to where it is. It's part of the design of our company. You know, we didn't want to rush into pushing something out that wasn't going to perform well for us, but we have a vested interest in what we're shooting working well for us. You know, I mean, that's our thing. We're going to use it. We're going to compete with it at the highest level. We expect what we make and what we produce to take us to the highest level. Absolutely. And so being able to go through, you know, years of development and testing and have you guys shoot the guns. I mean, I can't be more grateful for you guys, you know, sticking with us, shooting the prototypes, giving input. I mean, not even just all the verbal input, Marcelo, but you know, just the input that you guys put in with breaking shit, with showing flaws, with showing the things that you liked about it, with, you know, like all of our experience with it over that year of competing with the prototypes.
That was a fun year, I'll say.
Man, it got us to the point we are now, and I think that's something that's truly unique in the paintball industry, where a product, before it hits the shelves, before it's ready to go to a customer that's going to pay their hard-earned dollar for it, it's going to be tested in our hands, and it's going to be put through.
It's never happened.
It's going to be put through the paces, man. It's, you know, they got played with all over the world in some of the worst conditions, and I feel like the platform proved itself through that. And now, I mean, things are getting just only better and better as we improve upon now the little things with production and assembly and quality control, and always examining where we're at and little things that we can tweak to make it better, you know?
Totally. Yeah, man. You guys have a powerhouse company on your hands, and it's exciting to just see you guys grow and mature over, you know.
Well, it wouldn't be what it is without Dynasty, really. I mean, it wouldn't be what it is without you guys. I mean, that to me is what I'm trying to impress upon people, you know, like the important factor here with our company is that we are field tested, you know, and that we are constantly in development. We are constantly trying to find that thing that will make our products better. And we're doing it for you. We're also doing it for us, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, we want the best shit, man.
Yeah.
So
there we go. That's 100%. Never been, like Marcelo said, that's, I can't ever think of that time that it's been done like that. And that's a pretty damn big statement to make there. That's amazing, man.
We're always working on it.
I love that. Yeah. So what's new? What's cooking over there? What do you guys got going on?
I mean, you know, it seems like so much has happened, you know, but I mean, the Force was released at World Cup last year. So, I mean, realistically, the Force has only been out there for
few months,
like 6 months. Yeah. We've got our production going pretty good. I mean, we're a small shop.
We see if you know, get on YouTube and watch the YouTube. We got Yoshi's in the shop.
I'm in the shop, you know. Alex is usually the man behind the camera. Obviously Ryan's got a ton of content. He's not at the shop that often, but he's out there, you know, letting people shoot his gun. And that's also part of our design, because we have some of the best ambassadors of the sport, and they're using Field One products, and we're accessible, you know. I mean, maybe I'm not, because you can't find me on Instagram or Facebook, but at least when you call here, I'll pick up the phone, you know.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, reach out to me if you have any questions. But you guys are out there, and you're, you know, very personable. You're accepting. You want to reach out to people. You guys touch more people's lives in paintball than anybody else I can think of, you know. And so, I mean, to have you guys on board and to have that experience for people, they get to, you know, try out a Force, they get to talk to you. It's, I mean, for most people, that's the experience of a lifetime right there.
Totally.
So yeah, I mean, we're just trying to push that, you know. We've got a few hundred guns out there right now. I feel like the biggest obstacle that we're running up against is that people just haven't had their chance to shoot it yet. But I think as those numbers grow, and as we get into more regions, into more people's hands, at more local fields, people will get their chance. They'll be reassured that, you know, this is the next gun they want to buy. And then they can ask questions and, you know, get honest reviews from people that are at their field shooting this gun. And, you know, it should grow from there.
It's about as grassroots as it gets, you know, and again, that's like what Tyler and I are all about with this show. And it's no secret or no, it's pretty obvious that it's an extension of Dynasty and what we have with you guys, but you guys are doing the same thing with your company. True.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the coolest part of it.
Yeah. I mean, we all have because we've been here together, we all have a platform. And what you want to do with that, you can do with that. And it's all great for paintball. You know, I mean, what you guys are doing with your podcast is really cool, because it's not like you're going to necessarily with every episode capture the attention of every single paintball player out there. But with this platform, you can, with each episode, have an opportunity to capture something interesting or share something interesting with every paintball player out there. And I think that's cool. I mean, I know you guys have already had some, you know, guests from different parts of the industry, players, industry leaders, manufacturers. And I know that you're going to continue to do that. And I think, something that will be valuable will be talking to somebody who goes and plays every single one of those scenario games.
There we go.
Yeah. We got Wolf is coming on.
Hell yeah.
Man. Yeah. Wolf is ready.
Wolf is awesome.
Coming on.
He's great for paintball. He's a character.
He
absolutely loves the game. I mean, like we love it,
Yeah. Exactly.
And I mean, I'm stoked to hear that. I mean,
I love his videos. I love them.
You can hear old war stories from me, and I can have 20 years worth, but there's a lot of different perspectives out there. So I think what you guys have and what you guys are doing is going to be great.
Beautiful, man.
Thanks, Yosh. That's what it's about. We just want to really spread awareness to the game, and to be honest, we looked at this opportunity or this time as an opportunity because when the season's in full swing, I just don't think it would have been realistic to learn everything. You don't just start a show and record.
This has been a process.
It's been,
I believe
Tyler and I have, just like I'm sure with you guys, with the gun company, there's so many things that it takes a lot. If you want to be really good at something and do something well, there's way more to it than meets the eye. There's all the details behind the scenes that take a lot of time and effort and attention to all of the little things going on. And so,
like how we wasted 30 minutes of your time in the beginning of the show.
I don't see that as a waste. I figured we were hanging out. We haven't been able to hang out for a while. We were hanging out.
It's true. We're hanging.
Love that.
Embrace the schlep.
Embrace the schlep.
It couldn't come at a better time also. We need paintball to be on the front of people's minds. We need people who, might be sitting in the car with their friend who plays paintball and is like, I'm going to put on this podcast.
Yeah.
Cause like a couple of guys I like listening to, and they got a guest that I want to hear from. And that person that's sitting shotgun is like, all right, now they've got paintball in their mind. Maybe, we need that. I mean, all the local fields, the local stores that are struggling right now, ones that can't be open, ones that are just opening again, we need paintball on people's mind. And this is an extension of, what that is.
Love that.
Yeah. Real quick. Speaking of local stores, actually, you guys are doing something really awesome for local stores and Field One dealers. Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, for sure. I mean, Ryan, I think, had this idea or got this idea from something maybe that he saw in the surf industry. But essentially what we have going on is it's a simple promo. It's a small way that we can reach out to, some small paintball businesses like local stores and fields that are hurting right now. Maybe they can't open, but the promo is simple. Basically, if you would normally go and buy your Field One gear at your local store, but they're closed, you can buy it on the website and we'll, basically float them a credit.
Nice.
It's a small amount, but it's a way that we can help out. You buy a force, that store gets $100 credit once they're able to open up, or once they, convert to a web store or whatever it is that they're going to do to get themselves back right after this. They'll have that $100 credit that their loyal customer named them for, and it's a cool way that customers can show support to their local store. And it's a way that we can show, a thank you to, local stores, brick and mortar, local fields, where they can, at least put a little something on their shelves once they do open up. So it's a small thing. It's really a thank you to a small paintball business.
Yeah.
And for the customers that have purchased a force or an AccuLock barrel kit through the website and have named their store, it's a big thank you to them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Full circle on that. That's beautiful. I love that.
You guys aren't obligated to do anything. No company is, no person is. And so anything, above nothing to me is awesome. Yeah. And, people like to pick apart people that are doing good for others if it requires some benefit of their own. They do, and it just frustrates me. It's like, well, look, they didn't have to do it in the first place. So
it's the way of the world, man. Cool, man. It's the way of the world. When you're doing something that's going to provide some good for people, you gotta just plow through all the negativity.
100%.
You know that, man.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of great things going on in the paintball community right now to be supportive. Yeah. The world we live in, there's going to be some negativity. But ultimately, I think people in paintball care, and
absolutely,
and also people in paintball need help right now. So do what you can. I mean, absolutely. Go and play. Go,
Yeah.
Make sure you're paying your entrance fee at your local field. Buy a t-shirt from their pro shop if you can, you know, like if you got a
Totally.
little bit of extra money and you want to invest in some new paintball gear, do that, you know.
Mhm.
Show up for a volunteer day to help them out, you know,
Yeah.
rebuilding their field, or
Yeah.
you know, help a new kid that's out there have a better day and a better experience to bring them back. All
Yeah.
those little things, you know, it's
Yeah.
important for our sport on a base level, but especially right now, it's going to help.
That's the grassroots culture right
Yeah.
there that we got to continue to nourish so that future generations, we can pass this down and have something strong and really healthy, you know?
Absolutely.
And if you can't, you can't. That's also okay too. You know, I think that's something so important for people to realize. It's like,
Well, it doesn't have to be monetary. It could just be words. It could just
Sure.
be the energy.
share
you know?
the idea, share the support.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Absolutely.
always available. That
Man, I
energy
love you guys.
is always available.
I mean, yeah, I you know, I love you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
But
dude, I love you so
I know,
much.
I know that you guys have a true passion for the game, but also a true passion for people, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, baby. Yeah.
We love you too,
Absolutely.
Yosh. Honestly, we couldn't be happier to play for a better team and a better company. It's like Tyler and I talk about it all the time. Man.
I
you, guys.
still slap myself. I'm like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? I'm on Dynasty. When I was a kid, I was out there getting pelted up at Modesto at Extreme, watching you guys, and like to be able to play for this team and to be able to shoot Field 1, which is like a lineage of Bob Long, which was my original family. It's just all so full circle for me, and it's just like a complete honor and like unreal, to be honest.
This is true, man. Yeah, we're living in a dream.
It is a
Yeah,
dream for
nice,
sure.
man. So, Ty, before Tyna, because we have some fans that have some questions for you, Yosh. So before we hop into those, Ty and I are going to go back and forth asking a question each. Ty, did you have anything else for Yosh?
No, I just, man, thank you for everything you've done to the game. First of all, you're one of the strongest, mentally strong people that I've ever met, and your will to want to win is like nobody I've ever met in my whole life. Your methodics on the field are, you know, you cannot be messed with out there. Like
His methodics, dude. How do we not get into our team meetings?
Yeah, I know.
The thing that I love about Yosh the most is Dynasty team meetings are pretty loud sometimes, and they get pretty back and forth, a lot of bickering. When Yosh speaks
There's a lot
up,
of passion.
when Yosh speaks up, everybody shuts up and just listens to the Godfather. It's like, but it's for good reason though. It's because you don't let your emotions get the best of you. You're usually really logical.
He's a true leader.
And so,
he's the truest
exactly.
leader you could
That's so
find,
true.
and you're the backbone of Dynasty. You
That's
know,
a fact.
I might be the big energy ball, but when it comes down to it, you're the spine that holds that energy ball in place. You know what I mean?
Thanks,
And
guys.
that's
Maybe
what
I'm
it's all
the maybe
about.
I'm the ass bone.
The tailbone.
Important.
The tailbone.
Important too. Yeah, the tailbone is also important. I'll take that.
You're a very
Thank you,
important
guys.
you're a very important tailbone. No, but
That's funny.
I love the dynamic of it. Man.
That's what it's
But
all about, man. It's a beautiful thing we're a part of. So let's get into these questions. Marshall,
I got dibs on the first one, and it's funny.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you this when you first started, Yosh, talking about you, Alex, Ryan, and Yosh. So let's see, where was this one? I lost him. CS1K wants to know who would win in a 2-on-2, you and Oliver, or Yosh and Ryan, or Alex and Ryan.
Good question. I mean, is this one game?
just one game.
Let's go best of 3. No, yeah, let's go best of 3. I don't want luck to be involved here.
Best of 3.
CS1K didn't specify, but I'm going to go ahead and specify for him. Best of 3.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like this scenario has probably played out before.
It absolutely has.
Yeah.
We've done it at practice.
Uh-huh.
I mean, whatever team I'm on,
Yeah,
if it's
Yosh.
2-on-2,
Dude, I'm
That's right.
going Oliver and Yosh all day.
you give me any one of those 3 guys, and we'll take them down.
There we go.
That's all I have to say.
You got him, Ryan. You can do it, buddy. You can do it.
I like. Hey, Alex.
Is that what you wanted to hear?
Alex is no schleb though. My goodness. He'll
No
take
way,
him
man.
down.
Give me
Well,
Alex.
there's a good question.
Give me Alex. We'll take him down.
Are there refs or no refs?
Doesn't matter.
That
don't
that
matter.
absolutely changes things.
Doesn't matter to me.
Alex doesn't tuck in.
Mr. Cheats?
Mr. Cheats.
He's not tucking in, baby.
All right,
Nah, man.
Davin,
They all know how to play the game.
Oh yeah, they play the game
Yeah.
well, very well. Yep. All right, I got one from Big Nando. Big Nando wants to know if you have some tips for a support role player, back player. What's the best way that you can play that aspect of the game?
Well, I get asked this a lot,
Yeah.
and there's so many factors.
Mm-hmm.
But communication and being the bridge of communication, actively communicating, that is the backbone of a good paintball player. And so you need to master that. I mean, every player that wants to further themselves needs to be a great communicator. You see the best players out there are good communicators. But as a back player, you have to understand that you're probably going to have a pretty broad perspective of what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you may not be getting as much pressure or have your head down or be on your belly as much. So you should be able to observe more.
Mm-hmm.
So communication is key. I think also, a big thing that a back player brings to the game is their level of problem solving. You can't just settle into this role saying, I'm going to be a back player. If it's time to do a job, you do a job. If it's time to fill a spot, you fill a spot. You're always trying to figure out what needs to happen so that your team can win. You're trying to figure out how to help a guy on your team, how to shore up something. And maybe, just you figuring that out and relaying that you're not involved directly in the actual action there, but helping people with that perspective through communication and your problem solving. That's the key.
You're the best at that. You go from back player to front player immediately, and you're taking people down, and that's crucial.
Thanks. I don't know about immediately. It's a few lumbering, slow steps, but I try to get up there. I try to get up there.
Yeah.
I love it. You are one of the best at that, Yosh. Your timing is so good because it takes you so long to make those moves that you have to have excellent timing.
Dude, I need a big window, dude. I need a big window to slip through.
But you crush it daily, so I love that. I like it. All right. Well, from our boy Tyler Coe, you kind of did answer this, Yosh, briefly, but a little more detail into playing divisional while in college. Is it too expensive, or should you fully wait until you're out of college to pursue a paintball career?
Well, it depends. Everyone has a different college experience, and that's from the amount of time that they need to invest to make sure that they're doing well and making the most of their college experience and getting their academics done, as well as, how well they're financially supported. My thing with being financially supported, I was extremely fortunate to have great sponsors and a nice support team that would help me through all that stuff. So it was really just about, deciding that I was going to use my spare time to go play paintball. And luckily it's not like I was missing out hanging out with friends. All my friends also played paintball during those years. So I was lucky, but I think it's an individual fit for people. I think though that if you're in college, if you've decided that you're going to invest your time and your money into a college education, you got to focus on that, and if playing paintball gets in the way of that, where you cannot manage the two things, you got to go with your primary. And if, for most people, that's finishing their college education. The whole point of that process, it's not for everybody, but the whole point of the college education is that it will prepare you better for the next step. And so if you get through that and you dedicate yourself to that, then the next step can involve paintball.
Absolutely.
Be realistic with yourself, with what you can afford time-wise and finance-wise. But, for a lot of people, you can fit paintball in there too, do everything if you can, but if you can't, learn to prioritize.
That's it, dude. That's like word for word almost of what my dad told me when I was in high school. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I want to do this and I want to do this. He's like, well, do it all if you can. Yeah. And and then if not, then prioritize. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. All right. It is my turn. Advice for business owners, like getting into a paintball company. What would you give? What would be your best advice?
See, I don't know that I have a lot of advice because I am seriously lacking experience in that department. Like we started our company at the end of 2016, and we've experienced a lot. But in the scheme of things, especially in the paintball industry, there's other guys out there that have a ton of experience and could impart wisdom that hopefully they'll share with me at some point, or I'll pick it up along the way.
Absolutely.
What I will say, and what has been a strong something that people have vocalized as like something they truly appreciate about our company is be accessible. Pick up the phone, answer people's questions, be straight up, be realistic with what you expect. The goal is to not necessarily make people happy with what you're saying. The goal is to make people happy with what you're going to do. And clarity. I mean, set realistic expectations, follow through, and be accessible. I mean, that's our thing, like we want people to call and ask questions. We like talking to people.
I've heard that from so many people on my end, just how accessible you guys are. And it really is such a great look on your guys' part, because anytime that they need something, they're able to actually talk to you guys.
That's great to hear. That's our goal. We want people to be able to reach out, get their answers, get their stuff, be happy with it. If they have an issue, shit, man, that's going to happen. There's going to be issues. But then you call us again and we'll fix it.
And
that's
you're
it.
There. Absolutely.
That's it.
Totally.
I love it. All right, Yosh, we're on the last question. Brandon J. Miner wants to know, if you could change one thing in the NXL, what would it be?
Oh.
With the heavy hitter at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were going to break apart, the actual competitive league from the webcast, I could probably answer those two things separately. I know you and I have talked about this quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
From a viewership perspective, and I think that's what the webcast is really all about. I mean, we want to increase viewership. They're always working at putting out a more quality product, and they're doing a good job with it. But I do think that if there was a logistical, an easily found logistical way to do away with split deck for the game that we play, I think that would be better for viewership on multiple levels. It makes it less confusing to people who don't understand split deck, and certainly makes it less confusing to people who don't know paintball or don't know the teams yet. And it also allows time for some of the very talented commentators and broadcasters that we have, like Maddie and Todd and Rich, and all of our paintball personalities that get up there to tell stories about what's going on, to break things down, and to create interest and show why things happened, and give a little bit of backstory to players and plays and rivalries and things like that. So
we were just talking about that. That's so spot on.
I know.
100%.
I just copied you guys. No, but I really do believe that.
So split deck would be it for, and you did clarify, and this, Brandon didn't specify, the NXL and Go Sports are two separate things, right? And so the professional league and a league in general that's trying to put out the best product for players that are playing our format, they're two different things as far as like what would succeed, in my opinion. So I think you kind of touch on that.
Yeah, and then from the league play standpoint, I'm not gonna criticize the venues or any reffing or anything like that. I think the NXL does a pretty good job with what they've got. I mean, there's not an infinite pile of cash to keep pulling from to make everything the best it could possibly be. But I think that the tournaments are run pretty smoothly. I think the reffing is pretty good. I think that there's at least now there's a system where the gameplay and the reffing can be reviewed and corrected. And I think that I think Jason Trozen and I think the refs have responded well to that. And I think the players in turn respond well to that, knowing that just like in every other part of your life, there's going to be mistakes made. And sometimes they're correctable and sometimes they're not. Either way, you got to move on. And as long as, the ref, the player learns from that, then hopefully the next time it'll be better. And I think that's Trozen's mentality. And I think that's great. I think he's doing a good job with that.
Yeah.
From the actual like gameplay of it, I mean, it's fun, man. People ask me all the time, 7-man or X-ball,
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me. Paintball is paintball, and
I
whatever
agree.
format you decide it's going to be the sport part of paintball,
Yeah.
that's the sport part of paintball.
Or mud clots, right?
Yeah, or mud clots. Yeah, why
Yeah.
not? But I can make a pretty damn good dirt clod, man. Well packed, aerodynamic, holds together in the air but explodes on impact. I got a lot of practice of that. But I do think that we touched on something, and that is simply, and the NXL is doing this, but it's simply giving more people opportunities to play different formats to figure out what they like, you know? And the woods ball stuff is great. I mean, what Tim has done to develop his one-off event, where now, there's multiple other people creating leagues to emulate what he's done.
Totally.
It is great for the game. It brought in kind of a demographic of paintball player that had, I think for a lot of them, had kind of moved on.
Yeah.
But now they're back and they're bringing their kids to come play, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just diversifying the game and allowing more people to play more different types of paintball is good.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I know I said last question, but I've got to squeeze this one last one in. It's from our very own Alex Frazier. He really wants to know why you like Ryan Greenspan so much.
Dude, how can you not like Ryan Greenspan? I mean, you guys have spent a lot of time with him. He's got a great soul. He's kind. He's loyal. He's generous.
He's loyal. He's very loyal. That's a fact.
He is the most loyal.
No, I also said kind and generous.
And he's generous.
He's loyal. He's so loyal.
I think my mic might have cut out. I don't know. You guys maybe aren't hearing this.
Me and Alex actually modulate on his couch, which is it's a system where his couch is like a modular system, and it has all these. It's
Ryan and Camille had a baby.
Yeah.
And instead of like taking the easy road and being like, all right,
guys,
we got a baby now. Could you guys go sleep somewhere else?
Yeah.
They let us come into their home and fucking destroy it. Every weekend we have practice. And Kyle is also very generous with his space. But yeah, man, I mean, what's not to love about him, I know that he gives you a hard time, Marcelo, but it's just tough love, man. I think he's
I've been hearing about this tough love thing.
I think he's looking to further his mentorship of you. And I think you just gotta continue on with that.
I think he just needs to finally accept coming under my wing, and everything's gonna be all right.
Oh, that way, yeah. That's what I meant.
We see.
Shout out to the Eggman, dude.
Yeah,
last 2 weekends,
Eggman, dude.
Yeah.
last 2 weekends, we finally got to go out and play paintball. It's some of the best paintball I've ever seen Alex play. I saw him. I mean, I'm terrible right now, but he was saving us. I mean,
there we go.
I love playing with a guy. I'm so fortunate I get to
see
Alex pretty much every day.
Your guys' video is really funny about Ryan.
It's so funny. Yeah.
We have a good time, man. I love these guys like brothers. We're all a big family, and I couldn't be happier to spend my days with you guys.
We have a beautiful family. Yeah. With the Blade, with everybody. We got the most beautiful family, man. And Yosh, I know I speak on behalf of both of us, man. Thank you so much for coming on here and hanging out with us.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's the best ever. Yeah.
Is there a place where people can go to keep up with you? We know social media is not really your thing, but where do you want people to follow if they want news or whatever?
You could find my wife on Instagram.
Shout out to Mel. She's the best.
She is the best, man. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I really shouldn't get off the air without saying how much I appreciate her.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't.
She's in there working with you. I see her sometimes.
She's building my gun somewhere, making sure the O-rings are in right. She's supportive in every way. She's, provides a loving and fun home for me.
Yeah.
She takes care of our dog, Bailey.
Dude, I love Bailey.
I feel like it's funny to give a shout out to Bailey.
Yeah, shout out Bailey.
But I don't know. Keep checking out Field One Paintball. on Instagram, on Facebook. We continue to put out content, and we'll continue to do that, and keep you guys in the loop.
Totally. Love that. And then, thank you so much for coming on. Marcelo, do you want to add something, bud?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yosh, thank you so much for coming on, and we really appreciate it. We both can't wait to see you. We'll get
get us out of here, Yosh.
Pretty soon, dude. Yep. We need to get the team together soon. We're trapped.
We're trapped in here. Let us out.
We got to get
love
the
you
team
guys.
together.
Thank you very much.
Too,
Absolutely. We got to get something on the schedule, and maybe charter a private plane.
Yeah, there we go. We'll
sounds great. On-field one. You guys are doing well.
Yeah, we're doing that well.
Peace.
All right.
Later, Yoshio.
Later, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We hope you enjoyed that show with Yosh Rau as much as we did. A huge thank you to all of our supporters out there. We absolutely love you. Please head over to ptgpodcast.com. Our website is live up and running right now. You can become a supporter of the show there, and there's also just a bunch of great content and fun stuff to play around with in there. It is brought to you by Constant Pursuit. They're the ones that developed that webpage. And if your paintball field or store needs a web page made, there's no better company to make it than Constant Pursuit. So give them a look. If you have any questions that you would like for us to have in the show, please DM us on our Instagram page at Play the Game Podcast. And keep playing the game out there. We love you. Have fun.